to dial that in a little bit more.
Such a great song. Keep going.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel.
Such a great song. We have to figure out how to actually add that to our live.
Maybe we just did.
All right. Let's get this show started. So, listen, you all, we are just coming off of a 2-week vacation from Colombia, South America. So, our brains are not quite as sharp as they normally are. So, have some patience with us. And we also decided that December is, it's kind of a time that we're all checking out. Maybe it's not this like high learning time. We just want a little bit of a break, and that includes Darren and I. And so for the month of December, we're just going to be sharing some random thoughts, things that we're hearing with our clients, things that we experienced on vacation, and we're going to keep it chill. And then come January, we're going to dive back into the Take 5, very specific topics that you all as leaders can take with you and implement. But for December, we're going to chill out. And today, our random thoughts are, so here's what you can expect. Maybe Colombia, our trip to South America, and how the greatest learning lesson was that the environment that you're in really matters. 2, all you can eat pizza buffets. 3, surface level New Year's resolutions. 4, end of year closeout and wrap up. Maybe we'll get to that. Maybe we won't. And 5, whatever else comes into our brains that feel like sharing with you today. So I'm Rachel Lee. I'm the COO and Women's Life, Longevity, and Leadership Coach for the Canthal Group. I specialize in helping women optimize all areas of their life. And this is my partner, Darren Canthal, the fearless founder of the Canthal Group. And he's an executive coach as well as a professional bad dad joke deliverer. So take it away. Share the bad dad joke.
All right, hold on real quick.
Why?
Because we got a comment. So I'm responding to the comment.
Oh.
All right, here's the dad joke. I went to the Kodak store to steal something the other day, but I couldn't. There were cameras everywhere.
I really do love how like childish we can be.
Well, it was non-sexual.
Oh, bravo, well done. That's
Thank you.
a uncommon for us. Okay, let's talk about Colombia.
Okay.
What was your experience?
That's a pretty broad question.
Yeah, well, this is just random thoughts.
Well, do you want to talk about what we learned about the environment, or are you just asking what I thought about Colombia?
Just give everybody a little overview. So if anybody's wondering what it was like to travel to Colombia, South America, because, what the question that we got over and over is why Colombia? Is it safe? And how do you like it? Like, why did you choose Cartagena? Why did you choose going inland to Armenia? So just share a little bit of that.
All right. So first and foremost, everybody asked, do we do cocaine? And the answer is no. The area that we stayed in and where we mostly kind of toured around and explored and etc. was full of vendors selling shit. And what they called cocaine there was white chocolate. Or sorry,
white coffee.
White coffee. So I thought that was pretty funny. Also kind of cool, at least for me, because I never experienced before. We flew on Copa Airlines and we had, coach seats. And if you want to upgrade, they do like an auction. So you could put in a bid to upgrade your seat to first class. So we lost our bid on the way to Colombia, but we won it on the way back to Denver. So that was kind of cool. Just that auction was cool. I thought Cartagena was okay. Not my favorite city I've ever been to. One of the things that you and I talked about was if we were partiers and were more into the nightlife, maybe it would have been more fun for us, but we're kind of old and boring and we were in bed by 9 o'clock. So we did not experience a lot of nightlife. It is, so Cartagena is the second busiest port in South America, which I thought was interesting. There's a lot of like little streets and alleys and those kinds of things, kind of like Amsterdam, but not exactly. A lot of artwork. The arepas were average, at least the ones that we had. We also commented that it was like the first place we visited where we didn't really feel compelled or even that interested in buying some sort of reminder, doodad, tchotchke, whatever you call them. There was that one piece of artwork we were going to buy, but we didn't have enough cash at the time and kind of came and went. I don't know. What else? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I also did not love Cartagena. One, I love being by the ocean, and it didn't feel safe to go down by the ocean and walk along, like the path there or go and just hang out. I don't know why. Maybe it was in my head, but like we were told, do not leave the city centro. And so we didn't. And so it felt a little confined. Like you and I like to explore, and we like to have the freedom to go where we want, when we want, go for runs, explore all the little nooks and crannies of cities. And you couldn't do that. So it felt confined. It did feel like I am very sensitive to a lot of noise and a lot of chaos. Like for me to function and relax on vacation, don't laugh. You're the opposite, right? I like it to be more quiet, more chill. So it just was really loud, a lot of partying, which, we just don't do that anymore. But on a positive, I thought that, when we went to the restaurants, people were nice. We had some amazing meals. Like the ceviche was amazing. If anybody's going to go to Cartagena, Salele had just delicious, unique menu. So that was all great. But I never felt settled. I never felt like compelled to go out and explore more. I was kind of just waiting for us to move on to the next location, which was us flying into coffee country near Armenia. And we stayed at a biohabitat hotel, which there's a video on your post from yesterday, I believe. Yeah, if you want to watch that. And so this biohabitat hotel was fantastic. And the minute we got off the plane, both you and I, it was like, we could kind of just breathe. We're in the mountainous area. It was a lot cooler. Cartagena is hot as fuck. Oh my God. And so humid, very uncomfortable. And so it was just cooler there. And the biohabitat is quiet. You walk to your little habitat, which is all glass, jutting out over the mountainside. You can hear the birds. We had our own hot tub and pool. And it was just calm. The food was amazing. Everybody on staff there was super friendly. But again, we're kind of stuck. So that was the negative. The positive is you and I got to sit, or we got to decompress. We needed that at the end of the year. We got to connect, which was super important. We've had kind of an interesting year with the transitions going on. So you and I got to reconnect as a couple, not just, business partners. And I really appreciated that. That was necessary and needed. So that was my recap.
And then the important thing that you start out by saying about the importance of environment. So in Cartagena, all these vendors selling their shit, they're in your face. So like as you're walking into these areas, wherever these areas were throughout the city, they're like, the vendors are in your face, trying to make eye contact, want to sell you their stuff. Then if you happen to respond to them, because they always say, where are you from? And then if you say Denver, oh, my cousin's from Denver. And so they're trying to engage you in conversation. And for me is, as much as I'm extroverted, my extroversion is in a more controlled environment. What I always say to people is, I'm not the guy that you're going to drop in a strange place or a room full of strangers and I work the room. My extroversion is more with the friends and family that I love to be around. And when I'm in these situations, like if I'm in a restaurant and there's tables super close to me, I kind of clam up and then I don't talk very much. And that's how I felt a lot in Cartagena with all these people in your face. I felt like I didn't want to talk. And then I was in my head and I'm walking around and we're walking around together, but we're not saying very much. And even though there was plenty to see, there's a lot of artwork and there's some cool stuff. Like we were not our normal selves, it didn't feel.
No, agreed. We both, once we got to the jungle, we were both like, what happened? Which we talked about in the sense of once we got back, we talked about of like how important your environment is for your overall well-being and your performance and your success, whether that be the environment that you're working in or your home or where you're traveling, it does impact your energy. And so I think what was going on is we were so busy, like not busy, we were having to manage so much of our own internal stuff that it was hard to connect. And again, for me, I couldn't decompress. I always felt like inundated. Does that make, like, I could not decompress, and I just felt like I couldn't enjoy it as much. Also, there was a huge language barrier. Even though you're pretty good with Spanish, the dialect was different and very fast. And so you do feel a little isolated in that sense, where you can't connect with the locals if you can't speak the language. Can't is a strong word, right? We could have maybe tried harder, but I think we were just kind of getting through it. I don't know. It was weird.
No, can't is the right word. We do not speak Spanish.
Yeah, I mean, hola.
What you just said is also a good segue about something we were talking about this morning, about the safety of speaking up, right? So for context, without giving names, we were talking about family dynamic. My family's from New York. We speak up mostly freely. Surely there are some topics that are taboo. You were sharing a story about someone in your network, in their family, it's not so safe to speak up,
No.
which also segues to work, right? We see this all the time with the clients that we work with, that in some environments, it is not safe to disagree. And so there's a lot of learning in that, in the discomfort that we felt in Cartagena and how it made us act and behave in an unnatural way. The same thing happens in corporate America when you're working on teams that are not cohesive, or people are reprimanded if you do speak up and disagree or debate, or you're too passionate, as I was often told in corporate America when I just disagreed. So I don't think that's very concise, but in the same token, really what I'm trying to emphasize is that on teams in corporate America, in people's families, if it's not safe to debate or disagree or speak up, people don't, period.
Yeah, that's why your environment is so important to your overall well-being. It just is. So, okay, so that's our trip. I, of course, got sick. That sucked. So if anybody's gonna be traveling to a country where you cannot drink the tap water, make sure that you don't have a smoothie where they wash the fruit under the tap water. Just PSA for all of you. That's not fun. So speaking of getting sick because of the tap water and not feeling well and how that impacts, that impacted our trip too. Like, luckily it was on the tail end, but it was, for me, it was really stressful. You don't want to get on a plane when your tummy is not doing well for 6.5, 7 hours. I was like stressed out. I was like, just get me home. I just need the comfort of my home. So speaking of your health, let's talk. Oh, we have an unstable connection.
All right, start again. I can hear you now.
Okay, where did it leave off? Because it just dropped.
I heard you started talking about health and then you dropped.
Okay, so what you eat is important to your health. Duh. And our all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. So you're gluten-free, dairy-free. You have to be. Right? If you're not, there's a consequence. So by default, we all kind of live gluten-free. I'm not dairy-free because I'm from Wisconsin and I choose not to be. So every year we have what we call the blowout at a local joint in Golden, Colorado, Woody's Pizza. They have an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. We go, we drink a couple beers. Darren eats copious amounts of pizza.
It's delicious.
Once a year, right? We take the family and then he pays for it. So there was something interesting this year, like besides your burpees and all your other stuff that happens, there's something interesting this morning that you said to me that you haven't said in years past. What was that?
All right, I feel like I need to give a little bit of context because this is the story in my head.
Okay.
So starting January 6th, I'm going to do this program called 75 Hard. And this is a plug. If anybody is also thinking about doing it, I'd love some accountability partners. And the program is hard. It's a 75-day program that requires 2 workouts a day, drinking a gallon of water, drinking or reading 10 pages in a book every day, taking a picture of yourself every day. So it's got some pretty stringent rules. And for the last several days, I've been thinking about this program and how I'm going to approach it and what I'm going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And this morning, after gorging on gluten and dairy, which does affect me negatively, I had a ton of self-doubt. Like the conversation in my brain was like, are you crazy? How are you going to do this? You didn't even want to wake up this morning and now you're going to work out every single day for 75 days, twice a day. And so my conversation in my brain was all about self-doubt, period. It was all about self-doubt. I was just doubting my decision and all the things.
Which, as a functional nutrition therapist, is not surprising. Like, that's my background. It has been for, I don't even know how long. And I've been studying nutrition since I was the dork in like high school and college when everybody else was eating crap. And I was like reading Diet for a New America, if you haven't read that. It makes perfect sense to me because when we inundate or we flood our body with foods that create inflammation, and for you, it's inflammation, and you have an IgE, which is an allergic response, as well an IgG, which is an inflammatory response on the body, your brain is not exempt. Nobody's brain is exempt from that inflammation. So you have inflammation now systemically in your body and in your brain, which of course then the neurons are not firing the same way. You're not processing those neurotransmitters the same way. And like how I explain it with me, it's not necessarily the gluten and the dairy. The dairy gives me acne and the gluten gives me a little bit of a Buddha belly. But for me, it's alcohol. So when I drink wine the next day, I'm similar in the sense that things that plagued me that I have worked on come back and I have to work on them again, or I notice them again, like insecurities or not speaking up or low level anxiety. Just things that like I had put to bed and I've worked through, like they're there. And I'm like, no, I've already done that work. And so I have to spend my time and energy, but like, I've already done that work. I've already addressed that. This is just the inflammatory response from drinking. And so when we talk about that, we're talking about December, we're all drinking, we're eating foods that maybe we know we shouldn't, or we don't even know that we have a negative response on our body. And it's not always these overt responses like you get the burpees and you have digestive distress. Sometimes it's the sneaky, like, why am I a little bit more anxious? Why am I a little bit less patient? And so I guess we're just talking about that because we're just trying to enjoy in December, but Jan 1, so many people are on this New Year's resolution to like clean up their diet. It's like, great, enjoy now, but pay attention so you know when the change occurs in January. And if you don't know, then give me a call or send me a message because I can help you figure out like what is it that your body is responding to and why, and how do we mitigate that inflammation?
Yeah, the other thing that was real interesting to me is years ago when years ago when I first heard the concept or the statement of be an observer of your own mind. And it never clicked for me. I never knew what that meant. Then a few years ago, I engaged in some meditation and I started to learn what that means. This morning, I did my normal routine. I made my coffee. I'm sitting on the familiar spot in the couch. I'm looking at emails or my phone or whatever the heck I was doing. And then these thoughts of self-doubt came up and I observed. And it was real interesting to observe it and almost mock it. Like in my brain, I was like, oh, I know that self-doubt. Like, bullshit. And it was there. I heard it. I didn't succumb to it. I really didn't do much with it. And then the thoughts passed, and I didn't think about it again until I said something to you 45 minutes or an hour later when I was like, oh, by the way, it was just real interesting being an observer of what was going on in my brain and not participating with it.
Totally different, right? And then in the past.
Yes.
Yeah, which is part of the work of, yes, your PQ, being a coach, having to get coached yourself, therapy, like all the things that you've done for self-development, that's a result of it, right? Because in the past, if you had reacted to it, all these things would have happened, which most of us do because we don't have this skill set. One of the things I was thinking about when I was getting ready for this, and we were talking about the nutrition aspect of it and how it can overtly or covertly affect you, is so many people are on the jab, right? The GLP-1s, Ozempics, Mounjaro, all of the things. And now you can just get them anywhere. And yes, for the majority, it does help you lose weight, which so many people are going to think about in January, right? Every year I've done a cleanse, help people lose weight in January. But it doesn't address, and it's not going to help you with that self-doubt, with the depression, with the anxiety. It's not going to help you clear up your skin unless you're figuring out what are the foods or drink, right? Like alcohol, whatever it is, that's affecting the inflammation in your body that's creating this response. So I just want people to remember that, like, yeah, there are the quick fixes, and look, do what you're going to do, right? I'm done trying to fight that battle. I gave up a long time ago because it does work, and it can help with some aspects, but if you still have these other symptoms, because they're not diseases, well, some depression is disease, but if you have these other symptoms, there's more to the story, and that's when you can really start to laser in on what is it that your body is being exposed to and how do you get rid of that and then help your body heal so you're not dealing with this shit anymore. You don't want self-doubt. I don't want to wake up with anxiety. I mean, unless I choose to. And then we're like, and so then we can be observers. Like, okay, if I eat the Woody's Pizza Buffet, I know I'm going to wake up with self-doubt now. Isn't that interesting? Okay, what do I need to do to take care of myself until that inflammation is reduced?
Yeah, I just want to say, I was just thinking about root cause as you were talking. And of course, my brain goes all these different places and it goes very fast. I do like to chase shiny squirrels. And I am a sometimes pretty easy target for snake oil, if you will. And I was just thinking about, I had shown Rachel, I'd found these like back braces that like, pull your shoulders back and help to correct your posture. And I'm kind of rounded and I was all keen on using this. I had Rachel reach out to her chiropractic friends and they both said, yeah, they heard good things about them. And then I did just a little bit more research and there was a comment that said, yes, these things are great, but if you don't address the underlying issue, you will never get off of this brace. And right there and then I was like, I don't want the brace because for whatever reason I'm rounded, it's the brace is not going to fix it. Then my brain went to, never did any doctor or anyone else for that matter ever suggest that my anxiety or my self-doubt, which I probably never communicated I had to them. So it's not fair to bash them as if, how did they not see this? But the same token is how nuanced to think gluten and dairy not only affects my GI, but affects my mental well-being. It increases anxiety and increases self-doubt. I mean, that is so random. At least in my brain, it's random.
Well, you think about how many people are on psychotropic drugs for the ADDs, the ADHDs, the anxiety, the depression, like me, all the things, right? We just had a conversation last night of a 4-year-old who diagnosed with ADHD, and so let's medicate a 4-year-old. Now, listen, we're not here to judge anybody who has to do this or has made these choices. We're just saying that there might be more to the picture. And so we think about how many people are medicated when maybe the root cause is, what are you putting in your body? Like, what's the food that you're eating? We know that chemicals and toxins create inflammation and can disrupt the GI health or the gut microbiome, which disrupts your neurotransmitters. We know that obviously foods that you're eating that you're having allergic response to. We know that food dyes and food coloring and that bullshit with Kellogg's and, putting food dyes in the cereal in the United States, but no other country. Like, they have a whole different product for other countries that ban food dye and food colorings, which is absolute garbage, by the way. But so many kids who can't afford high quality nutritious protein and vegetables or fruits in the morning, they rely on that. And then they're eating this shit that Kellogg's said they were going to address back in 2019 and hasn't done anything about it. Right? There's always a root cause. And so I guess what we're saying here is if you want, right? If you're curious about this or if you believe in this, try to find somebody that's going to help you with the root cause.
Well, also be aware of yourself.
Be aware of yourself. Exactly. Be aware of yourself. Yes. Right? Like, I've heard all the stories in 14 years as a nutrition therapist. I've heard all the stories. But at the end of the day, you got to be aware of yourself and how your body responds. Like, that's super important because I think we do know, but I do also think we're all very, very busy. And so sometimes paying attention, it's like you're normal. Remember my mom? Remember when she did the cleanse like 3 years ago? And she and she said, "Oh, I had broccoli cheddar soup and my tummy, it hurt so bad and I had all these problems." And then she said, "It must be the broccoli." And I was like, "Mom, you've done the tests. We've run the tests on you. We know it's the dairy." And so then she cut out dairy and she's like, "Oh, it's the dairy." Because sometimes we don't want our favorite food to be the food that's causing the problem.
It's always the broccoli.
It's always the broccoli. When in
My mom
doubt,
told that too, remember?
your mom said it too. She had broccoli. She's like, "Oh, my tummy hurt. And it's the broccoli." And we're like, poor broccoli. It's always the broccoli.
Always broccoli.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you this. I've run hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of food allergy and sensitivity tests. I can't tell you one single time of those, not one, if I'm really thinking about it, where broccoli has ever shown up as the culprit. It's always the dairy. It's always the gluten. Not always, 90% of the time. Okay, so that leads us into, do you have anything else to say on the nutrition part of it and health?
Yep.
So it leads into the New Year's resolutions, because what do we hear from the New Year's resolutions is, I'm going to clean up my diet, I'm going to lose some weight, I'm going to work out X amount of times, and I'm going to save this much money. And we were having a conversation. I was like, isn't it interesting? Look, they're all great. Again, we're not judging it. Like, you and I, we're like, I don't want to say offenders, participants. We're very much participants in this. But then we're talking about, like, it's interesting. You don't really hear about the deeper resolutions. We hear about more of the surface resolutions, but we don't hear about the deeper ones. Like, I think I'm really going to work on improving my marriage. Or I'm going to work on really being a better leader. And what does that mean and how? Or I'm going to live my days focused on my top values. I'm going to go out and make a contribution in my community. So I don't know where that's going, but that's a total random thought that came up for us. Where do you want to take that one?
No idea. I will say, I don't know that I've ever heard anyone have a New Year's resolution or even a goal to improve their spousehood, their parenthood, communityhood. It's an interesting thought. I don't know what else to say about it. I'll be mindful for my goals, because I'm even looking at my goals for this year. I mean, one of them was to embrace my spirituality. So maybe that's a little bit deeper, but maybe not.
That's
But yeah,
deeper.
but most of the goals are business related. I mean, I'm always trying to figure out my health and wellness. It's like this ongoing, consistent journey. Yeah, a lot of the goals are surface.
So I want to stay with that, but you just said I'm always trying to figure out this health and wellness journey, and it just reminded me when we were in Colombia and you were talking about it, and we were in our habitat, and I was like, just stop, like stop constantly moving the bar and the finish line. Like you have had moments in time where you felt good, your composition changed, you gained muscle mass, you had energy, you slept well. Like you've had moments, and it's like settle into that and go back to what works. Because we're, like you said, constantly chasing the shiny object, the promise, the next promise on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook ads. Like, don't do that. Go back to what works, stay there, and then the work is to not chase the shiny object. The work is to stay consistent until it becomes your normal and you don't even have to work on staying consistent anymore. So going back to New Year's resolutions at a deeper level, I mean, maybe that is part of it. It's like
Staying consistent.
Yes, stop bopping around, because quite frankly, from my perspective too, then you ask me all the questions, and then I, like I'm like, Jesus Christ, and we're back here. Now we're talking about this over here. Now I got to figure that out over there. Now he's asking me about this. It's like, just stay in your damn lane. Please stay in your lane.
I'll think about that one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's true with the resolutions, because when I think about the majority of the resolutions, again, they're like end result. But if you don't really fundamentally change who you are to accomplish that result, then they're going to be fleeting. If you are trying to lose 20 pounds, well, that's the end result of all the actions, the choices that you make. But who do you have to become at a deeper level to stay consistent with your nutrition protocol, or whatever it is, like however you're going to get there? You have to systemically change to achieve that result. If you're going to be the person who maxes out their 401k and you haven't done that in the past, well, what about you is going to change to become the person that saves or invests? Like your habits have to change. Your thoughts have to change. Your beliefs have to change. So when you're looking at these New Year's resolutions, if you're putting out these end result goals, I'm going to encourage everybody, like you got to go back to root cause, right? How did you behave and who were you that hasn't done it in the past? And then how do you as a person have to change to become the person who does it in the future?
Let me just say, because I'm rebelling against resolution, I don't have New Year's resolutions. I have goals.
Okay.
So if anybody else is rebelling against the word resolution, insert goal. But I hear you. You're right. Because I'm even thinking about the lack of my consistency and where I have had success, and falling off the wagon is very easy. Processed food, crackers, cookies, shit, alcohol. I was also thinking about the falling off and the rebound. Right? I mean, you had this saying, I forgot where you got it from, but like, for instance, if you're running late for work and you're going to be 15 minutes late, you don't just say, oh, fuck it, I'm just not going to go to work today. You show up 15 minutes late. And I think the same is resonating in my brain about my lack of consistency. And when I fall off, what's my rebound, as opposed to going all the way in. But I think for me, it's trying to reduce the number of times that I jump off the wagon and how long I stay off it. So anyway, there's not really a concise thought there, but plenty of resonance.
No, it makes perfect sense. And it doesn't matter what the goal is, whether it's your nutrition or your finances or trying to be more patient with your kids or helping, taking on more of the household labor, whatever it is the goal is that expect the fall off. I mean, prepare for the fall off. It's going to happen. You're not a robot, you're human. So expect and normalize the fall off and rebound quickly. I've discussed that a lot, like specifically with, it seemed to be more so with nutrition when I'm working with my execs and they're like, oh, I traveled and, we had the big corporate dinner and I fell off. I ate the shit, I drank the crap, right, whatever, and I feel horrible. Great. You know what? It's going to happen. Don't make it a problem. There's no point in beating yourself up. And rebound quickly. That is key. Rebound quickly and get back on track and don't give it another thought. Just keep going forward.
I think the other thing that's coming through my brain right now is experimenting. Again, I don't know how to piece this together in my head just yet, but I lean into experiments with my clients. And the evolution of experiment is when I first started coaching, people would have homework. And then someone said to me at some point, I'm an adult, I don't want homework, I'm not going to school. And I was like, all right, fine. And then I went to action items, and action items still resonate with most people, but it's a little bit, I don't know. I mean, everyone is, take action, do action. I don't know. Sometimes there was some stress behind it, or maybe more of an aggressive impetus, if you will. But the word experiment seems to land with most people. And I think about experimenting with, for me, and I'm being very specific on nutrition, and I'm getting annoyed that we're staying here so long on the nutrition piece, but so be it, is experimenting with snacks because I have cravings, whether it's salt or sweet. I have to experiment with eating throughout the day. If I don't have lunch, I come home ravenous. And when I'm ravenous, I go into our junk drawers and I find every single thing just about that I can eat, have a little bit of granola, have a couple of crackers, have a little of it, and I wind up eating all this shit. Right, so I haven't quite experimented with the right things that lead to the consistency I need. Right, so I fall off the wagon so often. And I think that's part of my issue, for me at least, is yes, I can rebound, but if I'm rebounding 100 times in a year, I mean, that's falling off the wagon so many times, right?
So why are you falling off the wagon?
Well, that's what I haven't figured out.
And by the way, I hate the proverbial fucking wagon. I have always hated that term of like the wagon.
What do you
There's
call
no wagon.
So what do you call it?
I don't call it anything.
So what happens when people fall off the proverbial wagon? What do you call it?
They just go off protocol. But it's not, but sometimes I feel like when we say we fell off the wagon, it's almost like, and maybe I'm reading into this, and maybe, again, I'm still a little bit burned out on the nutrition, but it's like, you didn't fall off. You made the choice to get off. So take ownership for that. Nobody's putting anything in your mouth as an adult without your permission. You made the choice not to eat lunch. Why? You know that the downstream effect is X. And then you feel this. And then you complain about your weight. And then you wake up the next morning all gung-ho on the plan. And I'm going to do 75 hard. I'm kind of ripping on you a little bit, but this is what we hear, right? Like you go into these extremes. And this is what I see we do as a society versus like, why did you get off the wagon in the first place? Why did you go off the protocol? Why did you figure out what either the trigger was, but more importantly, like what happened inside of your brain that you said, I'm going to do this.
Cookies and crackers taste good.
Oh, I get it.
It's fun. That's why that's why I fall off the fucking wagon. There's nothing more to explore.
That's not true. Yes, they taste good. So build them into your protocol.
The origin of falling off the wagon is the idea of people publicly pledging to quit drinking alcohol by symbolically getting on the water wagon.
Oh, really? That's where it came from?
Yes.
Interesting.
And so when people broke their vow and started drinking again, they were said to have fallen off the wagon.
Great. I just hate the term.
Yeah, but maybe we need to explore that because you hate food hacks.
I do.
Hate off the wagon. But
I think what it is more than anything is I hate how, as a society and a people, we are so controlled and so focused on nutrition, on food. Yet we don't, yet we're so focused on it. You and I talked about this. We've traveled to several different countries, and every single country we've traveled to, we've heard conversations about food and weight and nutrition. Not once have I, maybe in Colombia, I didn't hear anything. That may have been the first time. It's such,
We didn't understand what they were
because we
saying.
didn't know, exactly. I also stopped telling people, like my foundation is nutrition therapy, and that seems to like take that off anyway. But it's, I feel sad that we are so controlled by food. We are so focused on it, and it has so much power. And specifically, I've worked with women mainly, and how food has so much power over their well-being, their mental well-being, and they give it that power. That's, I think, the biggest thing is like we give it so much power over our days and our thoughts and our beliefs and everything. And it's like, an apple doesn't have any fucking power. It has no power over you. A brownie has no power or control over you. But we give it this. And then we're either good or we're bad or we're boomeranging like you are. And it's so disruptive to our life. And I just wish we could help people find just this peace and freedom around food and nutrition and how they feel. And it didn't absorb so much of their energy and their daily thought processes. That's why I think I get so like passionate about it.
Well, let's point out, we just spent a majority of today's live talking about nutrition, which was not our intention.
No, but it was random thoughts, so you get what you get.
I get it, but Jim Gaffigan, who's a comedian, has this skit about going on vacation, and all vacation is figuring out what you're going to eat next.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I don't know, but I've heard that before.
Yeah. But I hear you. I mean, like it is a tie, and it does have power. And I know you wish it didn't, but it does. Period. I think part of it is societal norms. I remember reading this article not that long ago. I should say article. I read the headline, and it was talking about the fatter a man is, the more attractive he is in that society. And I thought, how interesting is that? Like in our society, it's the thinnest, most muscular body shape that we find attractive. So of course, it's natural for people want to chase it and to have that vision of attractiveness.
I know. I do get it. And I also tell people like, look, outside of the relationship with your mother, being in the womb, food is the longest relationship, the second longest relationship that you have in your life. So there's a lot there. And it's not just the relationship that you have with food, it's also the relationship that the society and the culture that you live in. Like there's so much wrapped around food and nutrition. So I do get it. I would love people to have more peace around it. That's what I really hope for. Because when I talk with my clients, like they think about their body image, their weight, like why they don't feel amazing and energized, and that they don't sleep, and all the things, and what they're going to eat, what they're not going to eat. Like it consumes their mind. And if they weren't spending time and energy, all that mental energy on that, like what? I mean, they're already super fucking successful. It's like, can you imagine what life would be like if your brain wasn't consumed with that? I don't know. That's just what I want. So that's what I try to help my clients with. Which goes back to New Year's resolutions and goals. Go deeper. Moral of the story on that whole tangent was you got to go deeper because the goal is the end result. You got to figure out what is the root cause, and that's what's got to change within you in order to accomplish that result.
I think that's a great challenge to anybody listening and thinking about New Year's resolutions or goals, is what needs to change within you in order to achieve the goal that you set out for?
Ooh, I want that. If anybody is watching still or watches this late in the game, I would love to see those comments, whether they're private, message us, privately, Darren or I, or put them out there publicly. That's what I would love to see and hear. Like, that is true change. And that's when the change will stay consistent. It's no longer something you do, it's something you are. Cha-ching.
All right, let's wrap on that note.
Okay.
Good talk.
Good talk. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.
All right, I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay, we hanging up?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, bye.
Bye.